The morning sun cast long shadows across the stone corridors of Windsor Castle as Marcus Thompson adjusted his ceremonial uniform for what he thought would be another routine day. 23 years of faithful service as a royal protection officer had taught him to expect the unexpected, but nothing could have prepared him for what he would discover in the next few hours. Marcus had earned his position through years of dedicated military service and an unblemished record with the Metropolitan Police. His colleagues respected him for his attention to detail and his ability to remain calm under pressure. The royal family trusted him completely, which was why he had been granted access to areas of the castle that few people ever saw. Queen Camilla had left for her official visit to Scotland early that morning, accompanied by her usual security detail. The timing was perfect for the annual security sweep of her private quarters, a procedure that Marcus had performed countless times before. These sweeps were essential for maintaining the highest levels of protection for the royal family, checking for any potential security vulnerabilities or unauthorized items. The Queen Consort's private study was located in the east wing of the castle, a beautifully appointed room filled with antique furniture and personal mementos. Marcus had been in this room many times before, but always in Camilla's presence. Today, with the room empty and silent, he could take his time to conduct a thorough inspection. He began his systematic search, checking behind paintings, examining bookshelves, and running his hands along the walls to detect any unusual features. The room appeared exactly as he expected, filled with the elegant touches that reflected Camilla's personal taste. Royal blue curtains framed tall windows, and family photographs sat proudly on mahogany side tables. As Marcus approached the large oak desk that dominated one corner of the room, something caught his attention. The desk was an impressive piece, clearly antique, with intricate carvings along its edges. He had admired it many times before, but today something seemed different. The wood grain pattern on one section of the desk didn't quite match the rest. Years of training had taught Marcus to notice details that others might miss. He knelt down and examined the area more closely, running his fingers along the wood. What he had initially mistaken for a natural variation in the grain was actually a carefully disguised seam. Someone had gone to great lengths to conceal what appeared to be a hidden panel. Marcus felt his pulse quicken as he pressed gently against the panel. After applying pressure to several points along the seam, he heard a soft click, and a section of the desk swung inward, revealing a hidden compartment behind it. Inside this compartment was a small digital safe, its black metal surface gleaming in the afternoon light streaming through the windows. The discovery of a hidden safe in itself wasn't entirely surprising. Many members of the royal family kept private safes for storing valuable items and important documents. What made Marcus pause was the fact that this safe wasn't listed in any of the security protocols he had studied. Every safe in the royal residences was supposed to be documented and regularly inspected by security personnel. Marcus stared at the safe for several long moments, weighing his options. His duty as a protection officer was clear. Any undocumented security features needed to be reported and investigated. However, he also understood the delicate balance between security and privacy that governed his work with the royal family. The safe was small, approximately the size of a laptop computer, and appeared to be a high-end model with both digital and biometric locks. A small LED panel glowed softly on its front, indicating that it was powered and active. Marcus could see that it required both a numerical code and a fingerprint scan to open. He took out his phone and photographed the safe from several angles, documenting its location and appearance. These photos would be essential for his report, but they also raised new questions. Why would Queen Camilla need a secret safe? What could be so sensitive that it required this level of concealment? Marcus knew that members of the royal family often received gifts and correspondence that needed to be kept private for security or personal reasons. Diplomatic communications, personal letters from world leaders, and valuable items with sentimental significance were all possibilities. However, the elaborate concealment suggested that whatever was inside this safe was particularly sensitive. As he continued to examine the safe, Marcus noticed additional security features that impressed him with their sophistication. The device appeared to have multiple layers of protection. including what looked like anti-tampering mechanisms that would likely destroy the contents if someone attempted to force it open. This was clearly not a simple storage solution, but a serious security device designed to protect extremely valuable or sensitive materials. The weight of his discovery began to settle on Marcus's shoulders. His training told him to follow protocol and report the find immediately to his superiors. However, his experience working with the royal family had taught him that discretion was often more valuable than strict adherence to procedures. The wrong approach could create diplomatic incidents or personal embarrassment for the royal family. Marcus decided to take a step back and consider his options carefully. He could report the safe immediately and let others decide how to proceed. Alternatively, he could attempt to gather more information before involving others, potentially preventing any unnecessary complications. The third option, which he quickly dismissed, was to ignore his discovery entirely. After several minutes of careful thought, Marcus made his decision. He would document everything thoroughly and then attempt to determine what was inside the safe before deciding on his next course of action. His years of experience with the royal family had earned him a level of trust that he felt justified this approach. The digital lock on the safe required a 6-digit code, and Marcus knew that many people used dates or numbers that held personal significance. He considered what he knew about Queen Camilla's life, important dates, anniversaries, birthdays of family members. The challenge was that there were hundreds of possibilities, and most modern safes would lock down permanently after a certain number of failed attempts. Marcus spent considerable time studying the safe and its surroundings, looking for any clues that might help him understand its purpose or contents. He noticed that the hidden compartment had been designed with remarkable skill. The carpenter or craftsman who had created it was clearly a master of their trade. The fact that such effort had been invested in concealing the safe suggested that its contents were extremely important. The afternoon was growing late, and Marcus knew that Queen Camilla's schedule would bring her back to the castle within a few hours. He needed to make progress quickly if he was going to uncover the mystery before her return. The weight of responsibility pressed down on him as he realized that his actions in the next few hours could have far-reaching consequences. Marcus returned his attention to the numerical keypad, trying to think like Queen Camilla. What numbers would be significant enough for her to use as a security code, yet not so obvious that others could easily guess them? He considered her wedding anniversary with King Charles, her birthday, and the birthdays of her children and stepchildren. The first combination he tried was the date of her marriage to Charles, entered in various formats. The safe remained locked, its red LED glowing steadily. He tried her birthday next, followed by the birth dates of her children. Each failed attempt increased his anxiety, as he knew he was likely limited in the number of tries he could make. As the sun began to set, casting the room in golden hues, Marcus felt the pressure of time mounting. He had made an extraordinary discovery, but he was no closer to understanding its significance. The safe sat before him, silent and impenetrable, guarding its secrets with electronic precision. Marcus took a moment to step away from the safe and consider the bigger picture. His discovery had already changed everything, regardless of what the safe contained. The existence of an undocumented safe in the Queen Consort's private study raised serious security questions that would need to be addressed. However, the manner in which those questions were answered could have significant implications for everyone involved. He returned to the safe with renewed determination, drawing on his years of experience to guide his approach. Marcus had learned that the most complex problems often had surprisingly simple solutions, and he began to consider possibilities he might have overlooked. Perhaps the combination wasn't a date at all, but something else entirely. The quiet of the study was broken only by the soft ticking of an antique clock on the mantelpiece and the gentle hum of the safe's electronics. Marcus found himself holding his breath as he prepared to enter another combination, knowing that each attempt brought him closer to either success or permanent lockout. The discovery had already transformed what should have been a routine security sweep into something far more complex and potentially significant. As Marcus prepared for his next attempt, he couldn't shake the feeling that whatever lay hidden in the safe would change everything he thought he knew about the royal family. The LED panel continued to glow steadily, waiting for the correct combination that would unlock the secrets within. Marcus steadied himself, drew on his years of training and experience, and prepared to take the next step in unraveling the mystery that had fallen into his hands on what had started as an ordinary Tuesday morning at Windsor Castle. Marcus stepped away from the safe and walked to the window, trying to clear his mind. The gardens below were bathed in the warm glow of late afternoon sunlight, and he could see gardeners tending to the rose beds that Queen Camilla loved so much. The normalcy of the scene outside contrasted sharply with the extraordinary situation he found himself in. Taking a deep breath, Marcus returned to the desk and studied the safe once more. He had been approaching this like a security professional, but perhaps he needed to think like Queen Camilla herself. What would be meaningful enough for her to remember easily, yet personal enough to keep private? Suddenly, inspiration struck him. Marcus remembered a conversation he had overheard several months ago between Queen Camilla and one of her ladies-in-waiting. They had been discussing the Queen Consort's beloved rescue dogs, and she had mentioned specific dates related to their adoption. The deep affection she showed for her pets was well known throughout the castle staff. Marcus tried the adoption date of her first rescue dog, a Jack Russell Terrier named Beth. He entered the numbers carefully, his hands steady despite the tension he felt. The LED panel remained red for a moment, then suddenly shifted to green. A soft mechanical whir indicated that the locking mechanism was disengaging. His heart raced as the safe door swung open, revealing the interior. Inside, he found several items that immediately caught his attention. There were multiple manila envelopes, each sealed and labeled with dates spanning several years. A small velvet jewelry box sat in one corner, and several USB drives were secured in custom foam padding. Marcus photographed everything exactly as he found it before carefully removing the first envelope. The label indicated it was from 3 years ago, around the time when several controversial stories had appeared in the British press about various members of the royal family. His hands trembled slightly as he opened the envelope and examined its contents. Inside were printed copies of private communications between members of the press and what appeared to be palace staff members. The documents revealed a systematic network of information sharing that went far beyond anything Marcus had imagined. Phone records, email printouts, and handwritten notes detailed conversations about private royal family matters that had later appeared in tabloid newspapers. The scope of the network was staggering. The documents implicated several high-ranking palace officials, including people Marcus had worked with for years. Security personnel, household staff, and even members of the Royal Protection Unit were mentioned in the communications. The realization that some of his own colleagues might be involved in selling information to the press hit him like a physical blow. Marcus set the first envelope aside and reached for the second one, dated from 2 years earlier. This envelope contained even more damaging information, including what appeared to be financial records showing payments made to various palace employees. The amounts were substantial, far more than what these individuals earned in their official positions. The documents revealed how information about royal family medical appointments, travel plans, and private conversations had been systematically harvested and sold to the highest bidders in the media. Security protocols that Marcus himself had helped develop were being shared with people who had no right to that information. As he continued reading, Marcus began to understand the true scope of what Queen Camilla had been investigating. These weren't random leaks or isolated incidents of disloyalty. This was an organized operation that had been running for years, involving dozens of people across multiple departments within the royal household. The third envelope contained the most recent information, including surveillance photos and audio transcripts that had clearly been obtained through sophisticated methods. Marcus recognized some of the locations in the photos as private areas of the palace that were supposed to be secure. The fact that covert recording equipment had been used in these areas represented a massive security breach. Marcus realized that Queen Camilla hadn't just stumbled upon this information by accident. The sophisticated nature of the evidence suggested that she had been conducting her own investigation, possibly with the help of outside security experts. The hidden safe wasn't just a storage location for important documents, it was the command center for a counterintelligence operation. The jewelry box contained what appeared to be recording devices disguised as common items. Marcus found listening devices designed to look like buttons, pins, and even pieces of jewelry. The technical sophistication of these devices was impressive, suggesting that Queen Camilla had access to professional surveillance equipment. The USB drives proved to be the most revealing items in the safe. Marcus connected one to his secure tablet and found hundreds of audio files, each labeled with dates and locations. The recordings captured conversations between palace staff members and media representatives, discussing the sale of private information about the royal family. As Marcus listened to the audio files, he heard voices he recognized. People he had worked alongside for years were casually discussing how to gather and sell information about royal family members. The conversations revealed not just greed, but a shocking level of disrespect for the people they were supposed to serve and protect. One particularly disturbing recording captured a conversation between a senior household official and a tabloid editor. They discussed manufacturing stories about various royal family members, creating false narratives that would generate public interest and increase newspaper sales. The official provided intimate details about royal family routines and personal habits that were then twisted into sensational stories. Another recording revealed how paparazzi photographers were being given advance notice of royal family travel plans, allowing them to be in position to capture supposedly candid photos. Security routes and timing were being shared, creating not just privacy violations but potentially serious safety risks. Marcus felt sick as he continued reviewing the evidence. The betrayal wasn't just about money. It was a systematic attack on the institution of the monarchy itself. The people involved were undermining the very foundation of the system they were sworn to serve. The scope of the network extended beyond the palace walls. The documents revealed connections to private investigators, technology specialists, and even international media organizations. What had started as individual acts of disloyalty had evolved into a sophisticated operation with tentacles reaching throughout British society. As Marcus processed the magnitude of what he had discovered, he began to understand Queen Camilla's position. She had uncovered a massive conspiracy that involved people at the highest levels of the royal household. The evidence she had gathered was comprehensive and damaging, but it also put her in an extremely difficult position. The recordings revealed that some of the conspirators were aware they were being investigated. Several conversations discussed the need to be more careful about their communications and activities. Queen Camilla was essentially playing a dangerous game of cat and mouse with people who had extensive access to royal family information and activities. Marcus found additional documents that revealed the financial impact of the information sales. The leaked stories had cost the royal family millions of pounds in lost commercial opportunities, damaged diplomatic relationships, and expensive legal proceedings. The human cost was even higher, with several family members suffering significant emotional distress due to false or invasive stories. The evidence also showed how the conspiracy had evolved over time. What had begun as occasional leaks of minor information had grown into a systematic operation that targeted every aspect of royal family life. Private medical information, financial details, and personal relationships had all been compromised. One of the most shocking discoveries was evidence that some media organizations had been actively recruiting palace employees, offering substantial financial incentives for exclusive access to royal family information. The recruitment efforts targeted employees with financial difficulties or personal grievances against the royal family. Marcus realized that Queen Camilla's investigation had identified not just the perpetrators, but also the methods and networks they used. The evidence showed how information flowed from the palace to various media outlets, often passing through multiple intermediaries to obscure its source. The technical evidence was particularly compelling. The USB drives contained metadata from digital communications, financial records showing money transfers, and even GPS location data proving when and where various meetings had taken place. Queen Camilla had clearly worked with professionals to gather this evidence in a legally admissible format. As Marcus continued reviewing the materials, he found evidence of attempts to intimidate or silence people who had discovered parts of the conspiracy. Several palace employees had been transferred to less sensitive positions or had left their jobs entirely after raising questions about security breaches. The investigation had clearly taken a personal toll on Queen Camilla. Marcus found handwritten notes in her distinctive script, expressing her frustration and disappointment at the betrayal she had uncovered. The notes revealed how difficult it had been for her to maintain normal relationships with staff members while conducting her covert investigation. The final envelope contained Queen Camilla's analysis of the situation and her recommendations for action. She had identified specific individuals who needed to be removed from their positions immediately, security protocols that needed to be changed, and legal actions that should be pursued against the most serious offenders. Marcus sat back in the chair, overwhelmed by the scope of what he had discovered. Queen Camilla had single-handedly uncovered and documented a conspiracy that threatened the very foundation of the modern monarchy. The evidence she had gathered was comprehensive, professionally obtained, and absolutely damning. As the evening light faded outside the windows, Marcus realized that his routine security sweep had uncovered the most significant threat to royal family security in decades. The hidden safe contained evidence of betrayals that went far beyond anything he had imagined possible. Marcus carefully returned all the documents to their original positions in the safe, his mind racing with the implications of what he had discovered. The weight of responsibility pressed down on him as he realized that he now possessed knowledge that could reshape the royal household and potentially impact the monarchy itself. As he prepared to close the safe, Marcus noticed one final item he had initially overlooked. Tucked behind the USB drives was a small notebook with a leather cover. The pages contained handwritten entries in Queen Camilla's careful script, documenting her investigation from its earliest stages. The first entries dated back over 4 years when Queen Camilla had begun noticing inconsistencies between private family conversations and stories that later appeared in the press. Initially, she had attributed these coincidences to lucky guesses or general sources within the royal household. However, as the pattern continued and became more specific, she realized something more systematic was occurring. The notebook revealed Queen Camilla's methodical approach to uncovering the truth. She had begun by carefully documenting every suspicious incident, noting dates, times, and which staff members had been present during private conversations that later became public. Her background in business and her natural analytical mind had served her well in this investigation. Marcus read how Queen Camilla had initially confided in King Charles about her suspicions, but they had agreed to keep the investigation private until they could gather concrete evidence. The king had been skeptical at first, reluctant to believe that people they trusted could betray their confidence so completely. The notebook documented Queen Camilla's growing frustration as she realized the scope of the betrayals. Staff members she had personally recommended for positions of trust were among the worst offenders. People who had been with the royal household for decades were selling intimate details of family life for substantial sums of money. Queen Camilla's investigation had taken on greater urgency when she discovered that medical information about family members was being shared with the press. The violation of medical privacy represented not just a betrayal of trust, but potentially dangerous security risks for family members with health concerns. The notebook revealed how Queen Camilla had begun working with a private security firm specializing in corporate espionage and information security. The firm had helped her develop sophisticated methods for gathering evidence while maintaining her cover as an unwitting victim of the leaks. Marcus was impressed by the technical sophistication of the operation Queen Camilla had mounted. She had used social engineering techniques to gather information from suspected leakers, carefully documented their responses, and cross-referenced their statements with subsequent media reports. The correlation between specific conversations and later stories was undeniable. The investigation had revealed that the information-selling network had become so brazen that they were actively manufacturing opportunities to gather sensitive material. Staff members were volunteering for assignments that would give them access to private information, specifically to sell that information to the media. One of the most disturbing discoveries documented in the notebook was evidence that some conspirators were attempting to influence royal family decisions to create more sellable stories. Staff members were providing advice designed to put family members in situations that would generate media interest rather than serving their genuine best interests. Queen Camilla's notes revealed her growing isolation as she realized she couldn't trust most of the people around her. The investigation had forced her to question every interaction and conversation, never knowing who might be secretly recording or taking notes for later sale to the press. The notebook documented several close calls where Queen Camilla had nearly been discovered conducting surveillance or gathering evidence. On one occasion, a staff member had almost caught her photographing documents in a colleague's office. Her quick thinking and natural acting ability had allowed her to cover her true purpose. Marcus read about Queen Camilla's internal struggle with the knowledge she was gathering. She genuinely cared about many of the staff members involved in the conspiracy, and discovering their betrayals had caused her significant emotional pain. Several entries revealed her disappointment and sense of personal failure at not recognizing the situation sooner. The investigation had also revealed how the conspiracy was affecting other family members, even those who weren't direct targets. The constant media attention and invasion of privacy was taking a toll on everyone, and Queen Camilla felt responsible for finding a solution to protect her family. As Marcus continued reading, he discovered that Queen Camilla had identified several staff members who were loyal and trustworthy. These individuals had unknowingly helped her investigation by providing information about suspicious activities they had observed. Their integrity had been crucial to building her case against the conspirators. The notebook revealed that Queen Camilla had been planning to present her evidence to King Charles and senior palace officials within the next few days. She had been waiting for one final piece of evidence that would conclusively prove the involvement of a high-ranking official who had been particularly difficult to investigate. Marcus realized that his discovery of the safe had occurred at a critical moment in Queen Camilla's investigation. All the evidence was in place, and she was preparing to take action that would result in the largest security reorganization in recent royal history. The final entries in the notebook outlined Queen Camilla's recommendations for addressing the situation. She proposed immediate termination for the worst offenders, criminal prosecution where appropriate, and a complete review of security protocols throughout the royal household. She also recommended bringing in external security experts to conduct a comprehensive audit of all systems and procedures. Marcus closed the notebook and carefully returned it to its position in the safe. As he sealed the safe and concealed the hidden compartment, he grappled with the decision of how to proceed. His discovery had given him advanced knowledge of actions that would soon shake the royal household to its core. The sound of car engines in the courtyard below indicated that Queen Camilla was returning from her trip to Scotland. Marcus quickly finished securing the hidden compartment and gathered his equipment. He needed to make a decision about when and how to reveal his discovery. As he prepared to leave the study, Marcus reflected on the incredible courage and determination Queen Camilla had shown in conducting her investigation. Working alone and in secret, she had uncovered a conspiracy that threatened the very foundation of the institution she had married into. Her dedication to protecting her family and preserving the integrity of the monarchy was remarkable. Marcus made his decision as he heard footsteps approaching in the corridor outside. He would request a private meeting with Queen Camilla as soon as possible and reveal what he had discovered. His role as a protection officer required him to report security breaches, but his respect for Queen Camilla's investigation demanded that he approach the situation with appropriate sensitivity. The door to the study opened as Queen Camilla entered, looking tired from her long day of official engagements. She paused when she saw Marcus, clearly surprised to find him in her private study so late in the day. "Your Majesty," Marcus said formally, stepping forward. "I apologize for the intrusion, but I need to speak with you privately about a security matter of utmost importance." Queen Camilla studied his expression carefully, and Marcus could see recognition dawning in her eyes. She understood that something significant had occurred during her absence. "Very well, Mr. Thompson," she replied. "Please, have a seat and tell me what you've discovered." Marcus took a deep breath and began to explain how his routine security sweep had led to the discovery of the hidden safe. He watched as Queen Camilla's expression shifted from concern to resignation to a kind of relief that her secret investigation might finally be coming to an end. "I see," she said quietly when Marcus finished his explanation. "And I suppose you've examined the contents of the safe." "Yes, Your Majesty. I felt it was necessary to determine if there was an immediate security threat." Marcus paused, choosing his words carefully. "What you've accomplished is extraordinary. The evidence you've gathered will allow us to address this situation comprehensively." Queen Camilla was quiet for a long moment, staring out the window at the darkening gardens. Finally, she spoke. "It's been a terrible burden, Mr. Thompson. Discovering that people you trust have betrayed you so completely is devastating. But I couldn't allow the attacks on my family to continue without taking action. Your investigation has been thorough and professional, Your Majesty. The evidence will ensure that justice is served and that these security breaches never happen again. The timing of your discovery is actually fortuitous, Queen Camilla said. I was planning to present my findings to the king tomorrow morning. Your involvement as a security professional will lend additional credibility to the evidence. Marcus nodded. I'm prepared to support your presentation in any way necessary, Your Majesty. This conspiracy represents the most serious security breach I've encountered in my career. Queen Camilla stood and walked to her desk, her hand resting on the location of the hidden safe. Tomorrow will be a difficult day for many people. But it's necessary to protect the institution and the family. I'm grateful that you handled this discovery with such discretion and professionalism. What are your instructions for proceeding, Your Majesty? We'll meet with the king at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning to present the complete evidence. I'll arrange for the head of palace security to attend as well. By tomorrow evening, many careers will be over, and we'll begin the process of rebuilding trust within the royal household. As Marcus prepared to leave, Queen Camilla added, Mr. Thompson, I want you to know that your integrity and dedication haven't gone unnoticed. When we restructure the security department, your role will reflect the trust you've earned through your service. Marcus left the study, understanding that he had witnessed history in the making. Queen Camilla's investigation would be remembered as a turning point in royal security, demonstrating that even the most sophisticated betrayals could not escape justice when confronted with determination, intelligence, and unwavering loyalty to duty. The next morning would bring revelations that would reshape the royal household forever. But Marcus knew that the monarchy would emerge stronger and more secure thanks to Queen Camilla's remarkable investigation.